You're listening to the Beansanddice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Hey folks, welcome to the Beansanddice podcast Thursday night live call-in show. Hey, there's my DJ horn right there. I'm Carlos.
My best friend. I'm Wayne.
And it is Thursday night live call-in show night when our motto on the show is how we game, but Thursday nights it's all about how you game, where we take your phone calls to talk about what you got going on in your gamer life. But our first call of this evening, even before the show started, my man, Patrick Havert, on the line with us from Escape WinterCon. Patrick, say hello to the folks at home.
Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing well tonight.
Thanks for that, Patrick. Patrick is not a stranger to the show. He's been on the show before. He's been to the studio. It's a good friend of the show. Gave me some awesome games. And we have him on today to talk about Escape WinterCon coming up very soon. Actually, it's going to be March. Let me get the exact date. March 16th?
March 12th to the 16th.
12th to the 16th. So the last day is the 16th. Lots of changes that's gone on this last year for you and Escape WinterCon. Ain't that right, Patrick?
Yes, it is. We moved to a brand new venue and went up in scale for the number of people that can show up. So we got a lot of new stuff going on there.
Talk about that new venue. I knew that I enjoyed the last venue. It had a great location. It was right smack in an area surrounded by food. I know I make everything about food. And I felt it had some great conference space. Like it was a really good setup. But there were some changes that were needed to the resident side. So it sounded like you heard what the folks were saying and you made some changes for the hotel. What made you choose this location?
Well, when we went and looked around at various locations, this one was big enough for us to be able to put 500 people into one ballroom, as well as the fact that, they've been maintaining everything the way they should have, which is one of the problems that happened with the old hotel. Was the hotel during COVID decided not to maintain anything. And this hotel obviously did maintain everything, but we were also able to work out a nice deal where everyone gets free parking. So that's always been a big issue for a lot of the hotels in Orlando, where they want $20 to $30 a day, and getting it for free is nice. Plus the fact it's at the Doubletree SeaWorld. So if anybody wants to go to SeaWorld, it's literally right there, and the Doubletree gives people free cookies.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in. You said free cookies?
You're in. Yeah. I think, it's interesting is I think for my professional life, I travel to work conferences 4 or 5 times a year, and I've served on the nonprofit boards of several of the conferences. And I know how insane working with hotels can be for conferences, because there's the guaranteed room block that you have to guarantee. There's the in order to get, usually you get the event space for free if you guarantee X amount of hotel nights. And then there's the AV cost. Any AV cost is through the roof. And I know that the last time I planned a conference for my professional life, to get a gallon of coffee, it was like a $90, type thing. So like it can be like free parking is kind of like people go, oh, why do I get, that's a big concession from a hotel, because, hotels make their money on like bar sales and the parking and those like incidental costs, the room and board, the food and ancillary costs. That's where they make a ton of money on conferences. So when you get free parking, that's actually a pretty big concession.
It is. And I mean, I'm glad we were able to get it. If you've ever been to the Doubletree SeaWorld, they actually have like a locked up parking area. So the closest that you could park for not inside their area is across a pretty busy street, and I really didn't want people to have to risk death to come to the convention. Yeah. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of different negotiating you have to do with these hotels and, the room blocks and everything else. And a lot of the other places, I try to get everybody a very reasonable amount for the hotel room, so that we can sell hotel rooms and people can travel in from out of town and not feel ripped off. because this is the busy season for a lot of Orlando, because it's one of the few times a year that it's not too hot, not humid, the bugs aren't out yet. So it's a real good chance to go and spend some time in Orlando and not have to pay $250 a night for a hotel room always helps.
Yeah, and $120 a night for a room in Orlando is like, in order for it to not be just like somewhere where you would never want to stay yourself, that's an insane deal. Like, I was just in Orlando for my son's soccer tournament like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and it was like $250 a night. And we booked almost the whole hotel, and it was still $250 a night. Like, it's not cheap hotels in Florida these days.
No, they're not. And I mean, unfortunately, just the whole January through March area, because it's when all the snowbirds come down.
Yep.
That they jack the prices up like crazy. So
and actually, I'm reading right here.
It's called Escape Winter for a reason.
Yeah. So $129 a night, which is unheard of in the Orlando area, especially that close to like an attraction or a theme park. And then the $30 resort fee and the $30 parking fee both waive. So there you go. $120 a night. That's cheap. That's probably cheaper than you could book that independently. And then you're also saving $60 a day because you don't have the resort fees and the parking. I mean, that's pretty good.
And my family has stayed at this hotel before for a trip to Universal, because it is right there near Universal and SeaWorld. It's smack in the middle.
Yeah, and they actually have the little shuttle buses that can take you to either Disney or Universal if you want to go there instead of SeaWorld.
Yep. It's a great location, great hotel. It's a good spot. It's going to have a great view in the morning. Now, let's talk a little bit about the hotel, the conference piece of it. That's the part I'm not familiar with that location. So you're moving from a place you've been at for a few years. You kind of have a set layout, a set idea. Now you show up to this new location. How's that going with setting up decisions on what goes where, what rooms you're using? Give us the lay of the land.
Well, obviously we have the large ballroom where we'll have also registration will be inside of there. But there's a hallway just outside the main ballroom where there's 3 rooms. And one of those rooms will be the library. One will be divided in half for different events that are going on, including like the game shows and Blood on the Clock Tower and Werewolf. And then the third room is 2/3 of it is going to be for RPGs. And then 1/3 is going to be for various tournaments that we run through the course of the con. So because it's right there, it's not like people have to walk, a few hundred yards or whatever. It's literally inside the same building. And basically for dividing that, I prefer to keep the library in its own space just so it doesn't take up gaming space in the main hall. And for the event, as people come out and go to them, at least it gives them a destination, so to speak, in that hallway. Basically, as soon as you leave the main ballroom, you turn left, there's that hallway, and that has everything else that you guys are going to need for the convention.
Now, one of the big drivers for Escape WinterCon is your famous flea market, like continuing to do that, which is really truly a service for the gaming community. Like, that's big. Where's that going to be set up? How are you prepared for that? How many tables do you have?
Well, right now we have sold 15 tables, and that's all we can put in one room, because in the room that's next to it is where the virtual flea market will be an hour after the regular flea market goes. So basically, as the regular flea market is closing, the virtual flea market will be there. So people have choices to do both things, sell live, as well as to arrange to trade or buy games with the virtual flea market. And if people aren't familiar with that, is BGG runs a geek list that people can enter what their games that they want to sell are and what they're looking for. And then people can bid on them. So before they even come to the con, they'll know what they're going to be able to buy or to sell.
I did my first virtual flea market purchases last year. And I remember Wayne asked me how I was doing, how's it going, and I'm like, I don't like this. And I get it. Some people love the virtual flea market. I'm more of an impulse buyer. I'm more of a browser. I want to negotiate a little bit. It felt too clinical for me. Maybe that's the word I'll use. It was too, here's the list of people that have already bought from me. And I'm walking around like, let me know if that person doesn't show up. I want to buy that. That's a good looking game, right? But that's not how the virtual flea market works.
So I like
It
both.
doesn't. And
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Patrick.
no, I was just going to say is a lot of people like one or the other or both. So that's why we like to run both at the convention. Because like you said, I mean, I love to go to flea markets and just wander around and see what people are selling and what they're offering for it and things like that. I mean, several years ago, I did get a copy of Queen's Gambit, that Star Wars game, at a flea market.
Just found.
And that game, yeah, I mean, it was ridiculous. I didn't think anybody was selling it. He sold it for like $100. So it was a very reasonable price, and they still haven't reprinted it to this day. So I felt very lucky.
Yeah, and I don't think that's one that's probably never going to get reprinted. I think I like the virtual free market for like, okay, this is a Grail game that I want and I know it's for sale. I'm going to buy it right now. The other flea market I like because you can walk through initially and you maybe find that game that you weren't thinking about. But as the day goes on or as the event goes on, sometimes people drop prices. That's where I like to get a little, get the haggle in there and try to talk about, hey, I know you have it listed for 80, but would you take 60? And you get some deals every now and then. So.
Right. I mean, and that's part of the fun. I mean, I always have a table at the regular flea market, and I always put like, these games are 20-ish. So that way people can come up and try to negotiate with me for those.
I like that.
I like the ish. Adding that ish at the end.
Yeah.
5 is like in the 20-ish range, right? From people like me to people like you, thank you for continuing to do the physical flea market that stands out. That's one of the reasons I love going to historical gaming conventions. So like HMGS's, Huracan, and Recon. The fact that they have that physical flea market is a great place to just browse and just kind of make some bad decisions, like some unplanned impulse bad decisions. So we thank you.
No problem. And yeah, I mean, I know I've made several poor decisions at various flea markets, but it's always good fun. And if you get a game for much cheaper than you would normally get it, even if you just get it for parts for something else, you usually do okay.
Yeah, there are other cons out there that got rid of their physical flea market for the people while continuing to do their own flea market. It kind of feels like we got stiffed when I started to see that become a trend at a certain con. But looking forward to hearing about the success for yours, and let's talk a little bit more about different events. We talked about the flea market, the virtual flea market. What are some of the events that you're hosting this year at Escape WinterCon to draw folks in?
Well, we have several different painting sessions that'll go on where people can come and everything will be provided so that they'll be able to basically paint for free and take home the miniature that they're going to get. We have a bunch of different game shows every night that give away Amazon gift cards. We have the social deduction games that I know a lot of people love, where Blood on the Clock Tower and Werewolf will be played every night from starting at 8 p.m. until whenever they decide to go to bed. We're going to have a bunch of new RPG events from the D&D group this year, as well as one of our members is running. There's a brand new Conan RPG that just came out, and he's running some of those events, as well as Gaslands, where, if you know what that is you get a Matchbox car.
Oh yeah, I got boxes right next to my Blood Bowl. Boxes of Gaslands.
Well, and he has one where you basically play like Death Race 2000, but instead of trying to kill all the different people, there's zombies around, so you're trying to drive around and get the biggest count of zombies. And we always run different tournaments, so like Wingspan and Settlers of Catan and Ticket to Ride. We have teaching sessions. We have the hot games area. And I mean, we're always adding new stuff. So if you want to go to the website at escapewintercon.com, there'll be a link that'll take you to tabletop events where you can see all the different events that are out there for right now.
I'm sharing that for the viewers on YouTube. Those of you that are listening on the podcast, you can't see it, but I am currently on there sharing that screen. I'm seeing more and more games getting added to this list. Folks, this is where you go not only to see what's on the schedule, but whatever's on your heart. And I know a lot of us gamers are zealots. We have a game that we love and we want to share it with the world. This is the page where you can go in and host a game. You can schedule a game to share your love of that game. Ain't that right, Patrick?
Yes, it is. And, you know, like I said, we're always looking for people to do that. If you run 12 hours of games, we'll reimburse your badge at the end of the con. So, you know, as long as you're there to run the games and teach people and have fun, that's what it's really all about to us. I mean, we're not out here trying to make a ton of money. We're just trying to facilitate people having fun. And I know, like you said, people love to run their own stuff. And we'll have a few game companies sending things out there, like Renegade sent some stuff out for a diplomacy tournament. And we've got a few other game companies that have sent stuff that we'll be posting soon. But we also got a copy of Binho, which is like a very flick'em soccer game that made me laugh.
Is it that one with the metal post inside the game?
It is, with the sides of the rubber bands.
Yes. That's a good looking game.
Man, I want to get a copy of this. It's fun.
Yeah, it's just a fun, silly game, and like you can get red cards and yellow cards by flicking things the wrong way. So
I like it. One thing I liked in that game, like that list of games, is there was a lot of learn to plays, like learn to play Terraforming Mars, learn to play this, you know, beginners D&D, you know,
learn to play Darwin's Journey. That's going to be a long. It's set for 4 hours. There it is.
You go 4 hours. But that's cool.
I wish I had that. I wish I had a learn to play. My first play of Darwin's Journey was kind of thrown in. Greg from Bradenton taught it to me, but it was a quick teach, getting in play. I would love to have a full learn to play.
Yeah, and well, and that's what this is basically he'll do the teach, and then the first 4 people that signed up that show up will get to play the whole game with him standing there to answer questions.
Nice. I like that.
And in addition, in our hot games area, a lot of times is the people that help us run the con crew will learn a lot of the games in the hot games area. So when people sit down, they can step up and help them teach the game.
And it's great to have an actual physical teacher, right? There's a SOBO, Southern Board Game Fest, out in Lafayette, Louisiana, that we've gone to. They have dedicated space for teaching games like this. When someone who's playing the game with you teaches, right? I love Greg, Sarasota Bradenton Greg. He did a great job teaching, but he would wait till your turn was over and then tell you, you could have did this, this, and this, but now your turn's over. It's too late because it's still a competition, you know?
Yeah.
Right. And that's why we like to have people that are willing to sit out and teach it, because that, you know, they really have no dog in the fight, so to speak. So really they're just there to give people the options. And usually after most people play these games, after the first turn, you know, there might be a weird technical question that comes up, but most people have the game by that point.
Nice. Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about hot games. I know Wayne's hot topic is hot games.
Sure. It's interesting is, you know, every con has a hot games table. So how do you determine what games are in there? I guess a couple questions. What games are in your hot games room at this con? And then how do you determine that?
Well, obviously, we have to have a physical copy of it before I can promise people that we can teach it to them. But, you know, I try to get a lot of the new games, and then usually we'll get anywhere between 10 to 12 games, and I'll talk to the people that are going to help run that area, and we'll kind of vote on it, as well as look at what's on, like, the BGG hot list. So, like, this year we have SETI, you know, the Search for Extraterrestrial Life. I know that's high up on a BGG list. I got a copy of Ostia with the pirate expansion. That's a really good game. I haven't played SETI yet, but I've heard it's good. But Ostia with the pirates expansion, I thought really highly of. And, I'm still trying to get a copy of Finspan, but I don't know if I'll be able to get it before the con starts. But, we have others like Rebirth and, we have Arc Nova, Arcs. I have the Elder Scrolls and Iridia, but I don't know if those are going to be in the hot games area, even though they're very high up and people love them, because as a dungeon crawler, it might take somebody 4 hours to play through the first scenario. And if they want to keep playing it, having it be in the hot games area is not going to help them.
Right. Yeah, because it's really getting in hot games is getting a taste of a game, getting the first play of it.
Right. And I mean, once you played SETI, you might want to sit there and play it 4 times, but odds are you'll play it once and people that will be waiting will then want to sit down and play it as well.
They usually start to see that line form on those really hot games. Kind of a couple of 3 folks sitting there, almost like they put their quarters down on the table. That indicate they have next.
Yeah, people get a challenge
and then,
you get like 1 coin to be able to be like, I'm next.
Right, because last year we had Nucleum on the table, and I don't think that game was unplayed between like 8 a.m. and midnight any day. And there were always like 2 or 3 people waiting for the next availability.
Well, and that speaks to so SETI and Arcs are 2 games you say are going to be in the hot games area. Those are both fairly heavy games that could be a 2 to 3 hour play on a first play. Do you try to then also get some quick play games in the hot games area as well, or is it really just whatever the hot game is and it takes what it takes?
Well, we always try to get one game that's like an hour or less in there. But again, the hot games area, like I said, we'll list 10 to 12 and we'll put like 4 to 6 in the hot games area. And if one is not being played a lot because people have no interest in it, we'll pack it up and put it in the library and put something else in its place. So it's always just a matter of what people are looking for. I mean, if I get a copy of Finspan, I know it'll sit in the hot games area and people will play it all the time.
Yeah, and that was pretty quick. I mean, you can. I've fortunately been able to play it a few times, and it definitely plays even faster than a Wingspan. So it's pretty good. Right.
I mean, there's the Fellowship of the Ring, the trick-taking game, and that might start off in the hot games area, and we'll see how people respond to it. It kind of surprised me on how difficult it was. Usually you think a trick-taking game is going to be pretty easy, and like the Crew I didn't find super hard, but the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game I thought was quite a bit harder than that.
Interesting.
I've always felt like trick takers right off the bat have a 2 points of difficulty added. Boom. Like just because it's trick taking. Like I don't ever assume that people grew up playing trick takers like I did. I know my kids didn't grow up playing trick takers. My wife didn't grow up playing trick takers. So it's just not something I can just throw on the table quickly. Like I have to try to get them to understand that trick taking concept. That's hard.
Right. And the Fellowship of the Ring really amps that up. Harmonies will probably be in the hot games area. I did get a few copies of that because I know it's in our group has been a very successful game.
May I suggest Flip 7?
Yes. Flip 7? Okay.
So when Wayne talks about short, fast games, you're going to get a game of Flip 7 in 20 to 15 minutes tops. Tops, if people are having bad luck. It plays 3+ number of players, and it is a blackjack mechanism. It's a great game. It is currently it made my top 20 for 2024 games played.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll get a copy of that then.
That's a good one. Carlos,
and if you can't, if you're struggling and you can't find it, I know Rob is desiring to visit y'all. I had ordered originally 3 copies, gave them all away. So my wife reordered another 4. We've given some of them away. I may have an extra one laying around. So you let us know, Patrick, if you need a copy of Flip 7 for the library, because it has been hard to find. Beans and Dice will be glad to help.
All right, great. Thank you much.
Yeah, my man has given me copies of some OG original Blood Bowl, Wayne, Patrick has given me original OG Blood Bowl models that I squeed when I saw them. So I have no problems sharing with Patrick.
I know you love that game and you play it all the time. So
Thank you so much. Hey, in the chat, you got a shout out here. William in the chat. William from Nerdy Weds. William says that he will be at Escape WinterCon, probably running some Blood on the Clock Tower. Like that's his thing.
Well, awesome. Because, yeah, I mean, I know that game, people just love it. And usually they'll play from like 8 o'clock at night until like 3 in the morning. So.
And then finally, we wanted to talk a little bit about bigger perspective, that industry-wide perspective of cons. So when it comes to cons, there's so many cons coming out. Every state is starting to become known for at least one con or one convention. You can go to Who's Turn in the Carolinas. We can go to Southern Board Game Fest in Louisiana, right? Board Game Geek in Texas. So many different cons in each state. How do you continue to differentiate yourself? And then how has that impacted your ability to be competitive, to find space and do it and still not come out broke?
Well, it's certainly not easy, but, we just got to listen to people and what they're looking for and what they have fun at. We obviously visit other cons, and if something is really fun at another con and people are just going crazy for it, maybe we'll run a version of that at our con as well. I mean, right now we're obviously doing Escape Winter, so, people can come down with their families and go to Disney and everything else and go to the con as well. And, unfortunately, that's the time of year when hotels are almost the most expensive. So that's a negotiation that's hard to do. So, hey, if you're thinking of coming, book a hotel room. But no, I mean, it's not easy. And, I'm glad more cons are showing up. So, there's more gaming around, and that's great. And I'm always happy for that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely getting to be a harder field to compete in. So we actually hired a marketing director. I don't know if you guys know Kelly North Adams, but she redid our website and is helping us out a lot with artwork and everything else in terms of how to market the con. So this year we're doing okay. And next year we should be even bigger because she'll have a whole year to be able to do that.
So the Escape WinterCon thing is, you're escaping winter. It's actually been a very cold winter, even in Florida. Do you already have some kind of preliminary numbers on how many folks you have from Florida versus that are coming from out of state?
Well, I mean, usually it's about 60% Florida and 40% out of state. I mean, one guy yesterday said he was flying in from Australia. So, we'll welcome him to the group. And I know every year there's a group of people that come out from England and as well as Spain, Brazil. So we'll have at least 4 continents represented this year.
In our chat, one of the viewers is Edmund England, all the way from Sweden. He's a regular viewer of the show. He's what makes us internationally acclaimed. If it wasn't for Edmund, we would not be international. Edmund, Escape WinterCon is waiting for you in lovely Orlando, Florida, a stone's throw away from the Beansanddice studio. So if you want to add yourself to that list of international guests, Edmund, you should join.
Well, and people can stay at the hotel several days before and after and still get the rate that we have. So, if they want to come out and do other stuff besides go to the con, they got plenty of chances.
Well, I'm going to email you the dates of the Hillsborough County School System spring break to see if we can align this, because you were 1 week off from our school spring break. The week after Escape Winter is our actual spring break with the kids. I know I have to work this year for your con, but man, it would be great if it landed like right on our spring break. That'd be great.
Well, we'll try, but yeah, I know several people have told me that 1 week later would have just been fantastic.
Yeah,
but I know it's tough.
I think it is. Yeah, the con starts on a Wednesday, and it goes through Sunday. And it's like that Friday. I leave Friday night for California for our spring break trip, which is that next week. So yeah,
we're heading out Saturday for St. Augustine for our spring break.
Well,
So,
I hope you guys have fun.
talk about the library at Escape WinterCon. So it's not even a lot of some of the smaller conventions, smaller-ish, whatever. You have to bring your own games, right? There's no library, but Escape WinterCon has a library, and I believe it's your personal library mostly, right?
It is, and right now it's got about 2,000 games in it, and every year we pull 1 to 200 and add 1 to 200. So we're always trying to add new stuff, but we have a lot of the classic stuff and older games. And basically, if a game hasn't been played in 2 years by anybody at the con, then we'll pull it out. So that allows us to kind of cycle new stuff in and get rid of the stuff nobody's playing.
And that's pretty crazy. That's your personal collection. One, that's a pretty impressive collection. But two is how much. So after the con, how long does it take you to get it back in order?
Well, usually we've got about 8 people helping, and we'll wrap it up and ship it. And then after that, it might take probably like 20 actual 4-hour sessions of me and somebody else going through it. And so the more people that are there, the more we can pull stuff out and put the new stuff in. But yeah, I mean, it takes quite a bit of work. So, 2 or 3 weeks worth of work in total over the course of the year.
And that's sort of like making sure that no pieces went missing, or replacing missing pieces, or broken pieces, or worn out, things like that. I'm assuming.
Right. I mean, all that stuff gets pulled and set aside, and that's the first thing I go through is making sure all the stuff is there.
Where does it go in between cons?
Well, I have a storage space that basically I have to keep it all in because, it takes up quite a bit of space. So we'll keep it there. And
yeah, because those of us with a personal collection, we understand the amount of space it takes. I cannot imagine having that library of games and having to maintain that.
So I mean, you have a storage facility that holds most of the games, and then I assume you have your own sort of personal board, shelves at your house, and you can switch out and back and forth between your overall collection and what you keep at your house versus what's in the storage unit.
Yeah, and so things go in and out. I mean, there's a few games that are longer that I'll keep in the house all the time, like Shadows of Brimstone and other dungeon crawlers. But a lot of times, like the Euro games and the other like lighter games will constantly be cycling, where once a month I'll go to the storage area and swap stuff out, or when I get brand new stuff, I'll take stuff out of the house and put it in storage.
Cool. Very cool. It's great having you back on the show to talk and share about your passion. You've been running conventions for quite a while and have done a great job at them. We've loved everyone we've gone to. So we feel we feel very, just appreciative. Just the fact that you know us and you continue to come join us here, it feels good. So thank you for participating with the Beans and Dice crew.
Well, thanks a lot for having me on. I mean, I always appreciate your guys' show, and you guys make me laugh when you do a lot of your top 10s and top 20s. So.
We have fun doing it, and it shows. We look forward to hearing how the convention went. I know Robert wants to go. I know Robert and his daughter are looking forward to checking out the new space and we want to hear those stories. For the folks at home, it's been Patrick Havert with Escape WinterCon and Quick Simple Fun Games, preparing for his Escape WinterCon 2025, which is going to be March 12th through the 16th. Tickets are still available. Some, not many left, but tickets are still available. Get onto the website, get your tickets, get your merch, sign up for any games that are already on the event. And if you want to share a passion for a game you have and teach it, make sure you sign up to host the game as well. Anything I missed, Patrick?
No, that should do it. But thanks a lot, guys. I certainly appreciate it. And have a great night. I'll be listening on my end.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Patrick.
Good night, Patrick.
Good night.